Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be speaking about a very important topic, especially for men. This topic is about semen retention, and I'm going to be speaking about it from the yogic perspective and also bringing in a little bit of my personal life experiences and a more modern context of how to understand these practices of semen retention. So to begin with, why is it even important to retain the semen? What is the purpose of all of this? Is in many traditions, not only in the yogic tradition but even in ancient Chinese medicine, the semen or the sexual energy is seen as the force, the base force or the primal force within each one of us. So you can think of it like the force of nature that exists within all of us, and this force of nature can produce new life. It's a seed for the new life, and it's also considered in the yogic traditions to be a seed for the new life within us, so we can use that same energy to transform ourselves from within. So of course both men and women have this force of nature, but of course in terms of sex, men and women are made slightly different, and so biologically women are accepting the male inside and the male is penetrating the woman, and so the male is releasing into the woman this energy, this sexual energy, to create new life, and the woman is accepting the sexual energy, merging it with her own and creating life. So the way in which we use or harness this energy then becomes different for men and different for women. So today I'm only going to speak about the male side of it, how we can use semen retention to increase our vitality, not only at the physical level but also at the mental, emotional, and spiritual level. So in some ancient texts like the Yoga Sutras, it is said that one who can achieve semen retention, Brahmacharya, in that sense, can gain all the powers. Nothing is beyond the willpower of this person. So it creates stability in the mind, clearness in the skin, in the eyes, in the energy system as well. So according to Ayurveda, which is a sister science to yoga, we have the 7 tissue levels. So we have the first tissue level, which is basically rasa. It's called rasa, which means juices. But essentially, it is the food that we eat, which is mixed with our digestive enzymes, the gut bacteria, and so on, to create this juice, this stomach acid juice or rasa. So this is the first tissue level. After approximately 7 days, this transforms to blood. Then we have fat, we have muscle, bone, bone marrow, and finally reproductive fluids or the semen. So according to Ayurveda, it takes 42 days of nutrition to create this semen. So we know that all the food that we're eating, that I'm eating today, it takes about 42 to 45 days later for this food to become the semen tissue. So this tissue is in limited quantities, and at least in the yogic philosophy as well as the ancient Chinese medicine, it is believed, in China they call it the Jing, the sexual energy, the Jing, and they believe that we come into life with a set amount of this Jing, this power, this natural force, and as we age we start to lose this, so it's a limited supply. So the more we release or let go of the semen, the more also we lose this yin, we age. And so according to these traditions, to keep our vitality and strength, we should only release this semen or this sexual energy when we want to conceive, we want to have a baby, or also if we are in a healthy relationship, it can be done once every few weeks. So according to the ancient yogic lore, when when a married couple or two people who are having sexual intercourse, who have been together for a while, they are in a loving relationship. So the relationship and the sexual intercourse is founded upon love and not only lust. Then these two individuals, of course, can will be using or harnessing that sexual energy to enhance their relationship and to enhance, become more vital, because this energy also creates vitality within our being, and we can use that energy through sexual intercourse as well. And in this kind of a situation, it is recommended to not have a ejaculation for a man, so to not ejaculate the semen more than once in 3 weeks. So this is the recommendation, that once in 3 weeks is a good standard period of time, because if one suppresses too much, if one is having a lot of sexual intercourse and suppresses, doesn't release the semen for a very long periods of time, this can also lead to some issues with the prostate or the reproductive organs. So it's also healthy to release that energy if one is in a healthy relationship. And when one is releasing this energy, it should be done not more than once in 3 weeks. If we release it too often, we will become depleted physically. And this is something even in Olympic athletes know very well, even though modern science is trying to refute this claim that semen has anything to do with physical well-being or mental well-being. Even so, all Olympic level coaches don't allow their athletes to go and have sexual intercourse a week or 2 or 3 weeks before their Olympic competition. This is because also it is known that during sexual intercourse, testosterone levels for men rise, but after the ejaculation, testosterone levels greatly go down. And so for the next day or so, one might feel a little bit more lethargic, might have not as much energy or strength as before. When one retains the semen, when one has sexual intercourse without ejaculating, one gets the benefit of increasing the testosterone levels without without having that big dip in testosterone afterwards, so can still be vital and strong and so on. So this is why it is important to not ejaculate on a regular basis, to leave it for once in a while, or if one wants to conceive, have a baby, then that is when you would use it. So this is from the physical perspective, from a physical health and well-being perspective. It is recommended to not ejaculate more than once in 3 weeks. But of course, then there is the spiritual aspect. From the spiritual aspect, in the yoga philosophy, it is believed that if we can retain the semen for longer and longer periods than just 3 weeks, we will also gain occult powers. We will gain much more ability to control our mind, to focus our mind, and so on. So of course, if this is somebody's intention to completely dedicate their life to the yogic path, then of course it is recommended to be completely brahmachari. But of course, take this with a word of caution, that this is only for people who truly want to leave behind career, want to leave behind making a family, and want to truly go out into that journey by themselves. So it can oftentimes be quite a lonely journey. But if one has with clarity that yes, this is the journey I want to take on, the spiritual journey, then of course for them it is recommended that we can go for longer periods of semen retention. This will give not only physical and mental clarity, but also spiritual power. One thing that I would add here is that, especially for young men in their late teens, early 20s, it's a good idea to practice semen retention for a period of time. Even if one is wants to have kids, wants to have a family, wants to have, be in the world, make money, and so on. I think it's really important to have a period of semen retention, and this can last maybe at a minimum of 6 months up to about 2 or 3 years. So I did this practice myself when I was 20 up until 23. So I did it for 3 years, where I completely did not, I had complete semen retention, no sexual intercourse as well during this period. And I think this period for me greatly benefited me. It really made me understand who I was. When I began this practice, I was kind of lost in what is my space in this world, just being a grown up, finishing university, coming into the world, and now I don't know who I was. I didn't know. I felt powerless. I felt like it was so difficult to make money in the world, to make a career. Everything seemed so much bigger than it was. All the problems in my life. And this really allowed me to conserve my energy and to bring focus into my life. So what I noticed happened when I practiced this brahmacharya or complete semen retention for 3 years was that my mind became very focused upon what I wanted to do. So I started to lose out this fear of, oh, maybe I should try this or try that. And I felt that though as an individual, I have always been, and I still am, somebody who is always jumping to new ideas, one idea and then the next and the next. And, it was a stark contrast where suddenly I had clarity. Okay, I want to get into um, teaching yoga. I want to be in a career and which supports a healthy lifestyle. So I don't want to be drinking and partying and doing drugs like I did in university. I want to be sober, in a clean lifestyle, eating good quality food, working out my body, feeling healthy. And I want to be surrounded by people who are doing the same thing as well. People who are conscious, who are taking time for themselves, who are not just in this mad rush to create their career, to make money, and to party and so on, which was everybody around me at that time. And so it gave me a lot of clarity, even though it was difficult to see where the future would lead. And a lot of people, of course, were worried about me at the time, like, oh my God, this guy is getting into all this spiritual stuff, into yoga. How is he going to make a living? Is he going to be able to earn good money? And, so of course, there was this worry which was coming from society, from relatives. And I think that I would most probably have buckled under all of that and said, screw it all, let me just focus, like all these older people are telling me, on making money and having a good life rather than the yoga and spirituality. But I think the brahmacharya, the semen retention that I was practicing, gave me a real kind of willpower. I would say that's the word I'm looking for. It gave me this willpower, and not the willpower in terms of constantly working out every day and being disciplined, but a different kind of willpower to say, okay, I'm just going to keep going, I'm going to keep going down this path. It doesn't look like it might work out, but this is what I want to do, what I love to do. So this will to explore my own dream, will to push beyond and take that step. And of course, many people might create this will for themselves without, of course, doing semen retention, without practicing this kind of brahmacharya. But I would really say it's important to do so. The second thing that was greatly beneficial, apart from getting this willpower from brahmacharya, was actually um, having the ability to, for that period of time, to shut down all my addictive patterns. So I found that um, through that control, through that brahmacharya, the the sexual energy is so powerful, and it's kind of the base of all our pleasure seeking behaviors. So in the yogic system, we have the swadhisthana chakra, which is the second chakra above the muladhara, the sacral chakra, which is the sexual energy, is a attribute of the swadhisthana chakra. And the swadhisthana chakra also has to do with all kinds of pleasure seeking behaviors, addictions, and so on, when it is imbalanced. So what happened, what I realized was, much more so than even today. Today I find myself a bit more distracted, a bit more addicted to certain things, especially like social media and so on. But this was a period of my life from 20 to 23 where I didn't watch any TV. I didn't even have a smartphone at that time. I think I just got my smartphone back in 2016, maybe it was. So that was like 8 years ago. Yeah, 23. So just at the end of that period. So I didn't have a smartphone. I had one of those old flip phones while everybody else was already on Instagram and Facebook and so on. I could only access it from my laptop, which I did very, very rarely. I was mainly reading books. I used to smoke a lot of pot back in university. I completely cut it out of my life. I didn't touch alcohol. So basically, it was a 3 year period of my life where I didn't touch any substances. I wasn't distracted and spending time on my phone, on social media, and it really gave me a lot this period of time, I would say. And today I am a lot more distracted, a lot more addictive. I get addicted to watching YouTube videos, to playing games and so on, which keep coming up from time to time. And it's of course something that I have to work with and I have to learn, and we all have to. And it's kind of like addiction is like driving down a highway and having this. The addiction is like the drainage on the side of the highway. So you can always just get off the highway and fall into this ditch. It's possible at any time of life. So it's not that just by practicing Brahmacharya for a few years you'll be completely free of it. So it's a lifelong practice. But what I found was that for that particular period of my life where I was so uncertain, I didn't know who I was, what I wanted from my life, I think it really gave me clarity to be for a period of time free from addiction, which I felt was very different compared to a lot of people around me. Everybody I saw around me was addicted to something or the other, and today as well, I'm addicted, and I see everybody around me also addicted to something or the other. And so I think in especially if one is confused, one doesn't know what direction to take in life, I would recommend to practice this for a few months. It really gives a lot of clarity as well. So, of course, while the semen retention practice of Brahmacharya was beneficial to me, it also led to some challenges, some issues, some downsides, I would say. So, all was not just flowers and roses and positive things. There were also, I would say, looking back at that experience, also certain negative things. And one of those was a suppression of my sexual energies. So, it was also, I would say, maybe slightly unhealthy for me to keep suppressing that sexual energy, and that's why I recommend not more than 3 years. I stopped it at the end of 3 years by a suggestion from one of my teachers who said that it is enough for you to do this practice now, as you are not thinking of taking up the path of a renunciate. You should stop practicing Brahmacharya and look for having healthy relationships. So I think this is a really important point, is that oftentimes we think that Brahmacharya is like a lot of men, when they start this practice, think like it's a solution to everything in their life and all will go well in their life by doing these practices. But I would say it's important to not suppress our sexual energy, to not put it down, to not suppress our desire for connection with others from the opposite sex, when we have sexual energy arising, or and so on. So I think that's a really important thing, is to do it in a healthy way and to not take an approach like I did when I began to practice this. My approach was, I'm going to do it for life forever. And I think that not taking that kind of a strong approach, just doing it for a period of time, knowing that okay, I'm just going to try it for 3 months, 6 months, and see how it feels, maybe extend it for a little longer. um, but of course, I think ultimately, unless you are taking up a completely spiritual path, you're renouncing your life, you're going into the Himalayas or into the forest in your country and becoming a monk or a saint, I think it's important that we begin to have healthy relationships, form healthy relationships with others, uh, because relationships are also a big mirror, a big part of the spiritual journey when we live within society. And at the basis of all love and spiritual relationships also is sexual energy and sexual intercourse. This is the force of creation which we bring into that relationship, the force of nature that binds two individuals together, and it can be a very beautiful thing. So we need to find a way to balance, I think, both the ends of the spectrum. On the one hand, to not go overboard with releasing this sexual energy and ejaculating and releasing the semen, and on the other hand, neither do we want to suppress that energy and put it down. We want to cultivate it in a healthy manner, so that we are not wasting the semen too much. We are keeping our health, our vitality, our mental clarity, and our spiritual clarity intact. And at the same time, we are using that energy to form a healthy relationship with others, to not suppress that energy, to let it come, to let it blossom and create create love around us. Ultimately, sexual energy can also be used to create love in our relationships and within ourselves. So this is very important that we balance these two ends of the spectrum. So, of course, I'm sharing this from my journey, from my individual perspective. Maybe some of you might have slightly different experiences. So, if you do, please share them in the comments. I would love to hear from you, how your practice of Brahmacharya has affected you, whether you practice semen retention, and what you think of it. So, thank you once again for joining me on this video. And if you like this video, do give it a like. Do subscribe. I will be posting a lot of content related to yoga, yoga philosophy, Ayurveda, and conscious living. Thank you. Namaste.